We look at the night sky, we see stars, galaxies, vastness beyond measure. Is there a grand plan, a purpose to it all? Or are we just specks of dust adrift in a meaningless cosmos? Existentialism doesn't offer easy answers. It forces us to confront these uncomfortable questions head-on. Existentialism is a philosophy centered on individual existence. It explores themes of freedom, responsibility, and the search for meaning in a world seemingly devoid of inherent purpose. Born in the cafes of Paris amidst the turmoil of the 20th century, existentialism quickly spread across the globe. Even today, the echoes of existential thought reverberate in our everyday lives. It reminds us that we are not just cogs in a machine, but active participants in shaping our own destinies. Imagine a world without a rulebook. No predetermined path, no cosmic scorecard. This is the essence of existentialism. It posits that existence precedes essence. We are born into this world not as blank slates but as beings free to define ourselves through our actions. This radical freedom can be both exhilarating and terrifying. But within this apparent meaninglessness, existentialism finds a profound truth. We have the power to create our own meaning. This freedom is not a gift to be taken lightly, it comes with a heavy price tag responsibility. We are accountable for our actions, our choices, and the impact they have on ourselves and the world around us. The weight of this responsibility can be overwhelming. This existential angst is a natural response to the realization that we are the sole authors of our lives. By confronting our fears and anxieties head-on, we begin to understand the true nature of our freedom. We learn that even in a world devoid of inherent meaning, we can still find purpose and create a life worth living. Existentialism throws open the doors of possibility. Imagine stepping out of a constricting room, blinking in the sunlight of a boundless plain. That's the feeling. Exhilarating, terrifying. We are fundamentally free, existentialism argues. Free to choose. Free to define ourselves, not by bloodline or social decree, but by the paths we carve. This freedom isn't about endless possibilities in some material sense. It's about the freedom to imbue our lives with meaning, even if the universe itself offers none. We are not puppets dancing on strings held by fate or gods. We are the puppeteers, clumsy perhaps, but holding the strings nonetheless. This is our burden, but also our liberation. With great freedom comes great responsibility, so the saying goes. Existentialism echoes this sentiment, but amplifies it to an almost unbearable volume. We are responsible not just for our actions, but for the meaning we derive from them, for the very person we become over a lifetime of choices. Think of a sculptor facing a block of marble. Each chisel stroke, each decision to remove or retain shapes the final form. Similarly, each choice we make, from the mundane to the monumental, sculpts the masterpiece or the mess that is our life. But within this burden lies a profound and empowering truth. We are not merely products of our environment, but active agents shaping our own destinies. Existentialism doesn't shy away from life's inherent absurdity. Imagine a tiny ant trying to understand the workings of a super collider. That's us essentially trying to comprehend the vast, indifferent universe. We seek meaning, purpose, where there might be none. This realization can be disheartening, even paralyzing. But existentialism urges us to embrace this absurdity, to laugh in the face of the void. Instead of searching for external validation, we can create our own meaning. Like an artist with a blank canvas, we are free to paint our own picture of existence. In a world where conformity often reigns supreme, existentialism issues a rallying cry for authenticity. It urges us to shed the masks we wear for society, to resist the pressure to conform to predefined roles or expectations. To be truly human, it argues, is to embrace our individuality, even in its messy, imperfect glory. This means living in accordance with our own values, our own internal compass, even when it clashes with the norms of the crowd. Authenticity isn't about achieving some fixed state of being. It's an ongoing process, a journey of self-discovery that requires constant introspection, questioning, and reevaluation. It's about peeling back the layers, confronting our own contradictions, and embracing the full complexity of what it means to be alive. No figure looms larger in the existentialist landscape than Jean-Paul Sartre. A philosopher, playwright, novelist, and political activist, Sartre embodied the engaged intellectual. He brought existentialism from the dusty halls of academia to the cafes and streets of post-war France, making it accessible to a generation grappling with the aftermath of war and the uncertainties of a rapidly changing world. Sartre's seminal work, Being and Nothingness, is a dense, challenging exploration of consciousness, freedom, and responsibility. But at its core lies a simple, powerful message. Man is condemned to be free. This freedom, Sartre argued, is not a gift, but a burden. We are thrown into existence without a blueprint, without an instruction manual. We are free to define ourselves through our actions, but we are also fully responsible for the consequences of those actions. We are the sole authors of our own lives. If Sartre provided the philosophical framework for existentialism, Albert Camus, his contemporary and sometime friend, gave it a literary heart. Camus, a novelist, playwright, essayist, and journalist, explored existential themes through stories that resonated with readers on a deeply personal level. His works, often set against the backdrop of a war-torn Europe, grappled with questions of meaning, rebellion, and the human condition in a world seemingly devoid of inherent purpose. Camus' most famous work, The Stranger, tells the story of Meursault, a man who commits a seemingly senseless murder and faces his execution with a detached indifference that shocks and confounds those around him. Through Meursault's journey, Camus explores the themes of absurdity and revolt. In the face of this cosmic indifference, we have two choices: resignation or revolt. Camus championed the latter, urging us to embrace the absurdity of existence and create our own values. Simone de Beauvoir, philosopher, novelist, and feminist, expanded the scope of existentialism, challenging its predominantly male-centric perspectives and integrating it with a powerful critique of social and gender roles. Her seminal work, The Second Sex, published in 1949, remains a cornerstone of feminist thought, dismantling traditional notions of womanhood and arguing for women's right to self-determination and autonomy. Beauvoir challenged the prevailing existentialist notion that freedom was an individual pursuit, arguing that true freedom could only be achieved within a social context. She recognized that societal structures, particularly those rooted in patriarchy, often limited women's choices and opportunities, denying them the same existential freedom afforded to men. Her work paved the way for later feminist movements, emphasizing the importance of dismantling oppressive structures and empowering individuals to define their own identities and destinies. The ideas championed by Sartre, Camus, Beauvoir, and others did not remain confined to the cafes of Paris. Existentialism, propelled by both its intellectual rigor and its accessibility to a post-war generation hungry for meaning, spread rapidly throughout Europe and across the Atlantic. It infiltrated literature, art, theater, and film, influencing a new wave of creators who grappled with themes of alienation, freedom, and the search for meaning in a seemingly absurd world. In literature, authors like Samuel Beckett and Milan Kundera brought existentialist themes to a wider audience. This cultural diffusion ensured that existentialism was not merely a philosophical school of thought, but a living, breathing force shaping the intellectual and artistic landscape of the 20th century. While Sartre, Camus, and Beauvoir stand as towering figures in the existentialist pantheon, it's crucial to acknowledge the diverse voices that have enriched and expanded this philosophical tradition. Existentialism, far from being a monolithic ideology, encompasses a spectrum of perspectives, each offering unique insights into the human condition. Søren Kierkegaard, a 19th-century Danish philosopher and theologian often credited as the father of existentialism, explored themes of faith, despair, and the individual's relationship to God. Martin Heidegger, a German philosopher whose work deeply influenced Sartre, explored the nature of being, time, and existence itself. These voices, along with countless others, demonstrate the richness and diversity of existentialist thought. It's a philosophy that continues to evolve, to be reinterpreted and reimagined by each generation, offering a timeless framework for understanding the challenges and possibilities of human existence. Existentialism didn't just revolutionize philosophy, it spilled over into the world of therapy, offering a new framework for understanding human struggles. Traditional therapy often focuses on fixing what's broken, addressing symptoms and disorders. Existential therapy, however, delves deeper, encouraging individuals to confront the big questions of life: meaning, purpose, freedom, and responsibility. Imagine a patient wrestling with feelings of emptiness and lack of direction. An existential therapist wouldn't just try to alleviate their symptoms. Instead, they'd guide them on a journey of self-exploration, helping them uncover their values, confront their anxieties, and ultimately, create their own meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. Step into an art gallery or lose yourself in the pages of a book, and you're likely to encounter the echoes of existentialism. From the haunting canvases of Edward Munch to the soul-searching prose of Franz Kafka, artists and writers have long been drawn to existential themes, exploring them through diverse forms of creative expression. Consider Munch's iconic painting, The Scream. The distorted figure, hands clasped to its face in a silent shriek, embodies the existential angst, the feeling of isolation and dread in a seemingly indifferent world. Kafka's novels, like The Metamorphosis, delve into themes of alienation, absurdity, and the search for identity in a dehumanizing world. But existentialism's influence in art and literature extends beyond mere depictions of angst and despair. It's also about rebellion, the search for authenticity, and the creation of meaning in a world seemingly devoid of inherent purpose. In our hyper-connected, technology-driven world, it might seem like existentialism, with its focus on individual existence and the search for meaning, is a relic of a bygone era. Yet, the digital age, with its rapid pace of change, blurring of boundaries, and constant barrage of information, has only amplified many of the core concerns that existentialism addresses. Consider the feeling of being constantly connected, yet strangely disconnected. Social media, while offering a platform for connection, can also fuel feelings of inadequacy, comparison, and a relentless pressure to project a curated version of ourselves. This digital duality mirrors the existentialist struggle for authenticity, the challenge of defining ourselves amidst external pressures and expectations. As machines become more sophisticated, capable of mimicking and even surpassing human capabilities, existentialism's focus on consciousness, freedom of choice, and the search for meaning takes on a renewed urgency. Section 4. A Living Philosophy. Existentialism's Enduring Relevance. Existentialism remains a vibrant force shaping how we understand ourselves and the world. It speaks to the human condition, offering a mirror to our anxieties and a reminder of our capacity for growth and meaning-making. It's a philosophy for those who embrace life's uncertainties and recognize that true freedom lies in embracing responsibility. Even in a world devoid of inherent purpose, we have the power to create our own meaning. Existentialism reminds us that the journey itself is where we discover the true meaning of our existence. Existentialism, for all its allure, isn't a philosophy for the faint of heart. It doesn't offer comforting illusions or prepackaged meaning. It thrusts upon us a level of freedom that can be both exhilarating and utterly terrifying. Imagine standing on a precipice, the wind whipping at your face, the ground falling away beneath you. That's the feeling, the vertiginous thrill and the gut-wrenching fear that comes with realizing the true extent of our freedom. We are, as Sartre famously declared, condemned to be free. Condemned because we didn't choose to be born, to be thrown into this existence with all its complexities and uncertainties. Free because we have the power to define ourselves, to shape our own destinies, even in a world seemingly devoid of inherent purpose. This freedom, however, comes at a price. It means accepting the weight of responsibility for our choices, for the paths we take and the paths we leave untrodden. It means confronting the possibility that we might make mistakes, that our choices might lead us down dark and winding roads. It means acknowledging that there are no guarantees, no safety nets, in this exhilarating, terrifying dance of existence. It's no wonder, then, that existentialism often gets painted with the brush of pessimism, associated with angst, dread, and a sense of meaninglessness. And indeed, existentialism doesn't shy away from these darker aspects of the human experience. It recognizes that anxiety, far from being a pathological condition, is a natural response to the realization of our own freedom and the overwhelming possibilities and responsibilities it presents. Imagine staring into a vast, dark abyss. That's the existential void, the absence of preordained meaning, the unsettling realization that we are not handed a script for how to live our lives. This void can trigger existential anxiety, a sense of groundlessness, a fear that our lives lack inherent purpose. But here's the crucial point. Existentialism doesn't advocate surrendering to despair. Instead, it urges us to confront our anxieties head-on, to acknowledge the abyss without letting it swallow us whole. For it's in confronting these uncomfortable truths and embracing the uncertainties of existence that we begin to tap into our own capacity for meaning-making. Existentialism, often seen as pessimistic, reveals its empowering core. The universe's indifference grants us freedom to create our own meaning, to craft lives of purpose and authenticity. We are the navigators, charting our own course. Embrace the freedom to define our values and make choices. Existentialism often gets lumped in with nihilism, dismissed as a philosophy for gloomy intellectuals who've given up on finding meaning in life. It's true, existentialism doesn't sugarcoat the human condition. It acknowledges the anxieties, the uncertainties, the seeming indifference of the universe to our hopes and dreams. But to equate it with nihilism is to miss its profoundly empowering core. Think of it this way. Nihilism is like staring into that existential abyss and concluding that nothing matters, that all action is futile. It's a philosophy of resignation, of passive acceptance of a meaningless existence. Existentialism, on the other hand, sees that same abyss and says yes. But, yes, there might not be inherent meaning, but that very absence frees us to create our own. It's like being handed a blank sheet of music instead of a pre-written score. A nihilist might see only emptiness, the impossibility of creating something from nothing. An existentialist sees potential, the freedom to compose their own symphony of existence, even if it's a symphony played on a slightly out-of-tune piano in a universe that couldn't care less about the melody. The meaning-making mandate, taking responsibility for our interpretations. If the universe doesn't hand us a pre-packaged meaning, then we are responsible for creating our own. Meaning isn't found out there, it's cultivated within ourselves through our choices and actions. Imagine two people experiencing the same tragic loss. One finds despair, the other finds solace. The event hasn't changed, but their interpretations have. We are active interpreters, shaping our understanding of the world and our place within it. Beyond despair, a call to action. Existentialism's engaged spirit. Existentialism's emphasis on freedom and responsibility isn't passive navel-gazing. It's a call to action, to engage with the world, to create meaning through purposeful action. Small acts of courage and kindness can create positive change. Think of it as a cosmic dance floor. We can stand on the sidelines or step onto the dance floor. In dancing, we find purpose, connection, and vibrant life. The enduring whisper of existence. We've journeyed far, from the cafes of existentialism's birth to the complex realities of our modern world. We've wrestled with weighty concepts, freedom and its disorienting vastness, the crushing weight of responsibility, the absurdity of seeking meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. It's enough to make one long for a simpler, pre-packaged philosophy, one with easy answers and a cosmic guarantee. But existentialism doesn't offer such comforts. Instead, it holds up a mirror, reflecting back our own image, flawed, anxious yearning, yet ultimately free. It whispers, in its own starkly poetic way, that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to navigate them. The universe may not owe us a meaning, but that very lack opens up a universe of possibility, a canvas upon which we can paint our own unique and ever-evolving sense of purpose. This isn't a message for the faint of heart. It requires courage to face the abyss of the unknown, to embrace the freedom to define ourselves without the crutch of preordained purpose. It demands radical responsibility, acknowledging that each choice, however small, shapes the masterpiece or the magnificent mess of our lives. A cosmos of your own design. We are artists of our own existence, endowed with consciousness, self-awareness, and the ability to create. Existentialism invites us to awaken to our full potential, to live lives of intention, authenticity, and radical self-expression. Our lives have meaning because we choose to imbue them with it. Embrace the freedom to create our own meaning. Even a spark can ignite a fire that illuminates the darkness.